That tradition, unlike any other, is a big deal for golf fans, but it is also big business for the local economy. All across Augusta in the southeast, many businesses benefit. And to find out just how much they benefit, we sat down with Clemson professor Dr. Felipe Tobar for the numbers. Well, Dr. Tobar, thank you so much for taking some time with us. It's Masters Week. This is a big deal here in South Carolina, really the entire southeast. The world's eyes are on Augusta right now. So looking at what the Masters offers, it's more than just a golf tournament. So how big of an impact does the Masters have really on this entire area?
Well, thanks for having me, Justin. The Masters tournament has a huge positive impact on Augusta's tourism economy, which is the third largest employment sector in the region. It's the city's single most annual event, bringing an estimate of 120 million in economic activity during just 1 week. And to put it into perspective, the number of people in Augusta doubles. The Augusta population is around 200,000 people, and this number doubles with visitors staying in the city. So important also when you talk about economic impacts is the fact that they're not just direct spending by tourists, like in lodging, in dining, in retail services. There's also those indirect impacts, which happens when local suppliers, like food distributors, for instance, they see an increased demand from business serving those visitors. And finally, people working for visitors, they will earn more tips, they'll get better wages, and they will likely spend this money again in the local industry, kind of fooling the local economy to higher numbers in terms of a positive impact.
Really propels it forward. Hey, hard to imagine that Augusta pretty much doubles in population. So how does the Masters, this economic impact that the Masters has on Augusta in the area, how does that compare to other sporting events?
Well, the economic impact for the Masters are huge because it's a just 1 week event. And of course, it brings elite type of fans with lots of millions of dollars to spend in the area. But to compare, for instance, with 2025 College Football Playoff Championship in Atlanta, that tournament had an economic impact of $75 million. If we go back to 2022, when Clemson played Georgia at the Duke's Mayo Classic in Charlotte for a Saturday game, that economic impact was around $40 million. Then important element here is the overnight staying, because organizers really want to push that to happen because it creates like a ripple effect in tourists spending more on dining, spending more on retail. Of course, they will have to have a car and they will rent a car. Taxes on gas will also increase. So it's just positive impacts that are generated by a higher number of overnight stays in those destinations. Lastly, just to put in perspective, a global event like the FIFA World Cup that's coming to the United States next year, Atlanta has predicted around $500 million in economic impact, only brought by visitors, not counting residents. So that puts in perspective how important the Masters tournament is for the region of Augusta.
Huge. See, it's interesting to see that football is finally beat by something when it comes to attention with sporting events. You mentioned the overnight stays. You mentioned the wait staff, the restaurants, how people are coming there and they're spending money. Which industry does it seem like benefits the most outside of Augusta National?
Well, the big winners are tourism and hospitality. Without a doubt, hotel rates can jump up to 800%. There are around 7,200 hotel rooms reaching full capacity in Augusta this week, generating over 26 million in hotel revenue alone and around 2 million of taxes. In addition to that, it's important to remember that there are over 4,000 short-term rentals, often going for $700 or more. This is because local residents normally rent out their homes and take vacations since school spring break is aligned with the tournament week. Just to give you perspective, a homeowner with like 350,000 property can make up to $15,000 in the tournament and probably paying the mortgage for the year. But here is an important aspect that Augusta has created, and which is the Masters rule. This is a tax incentive that lets homeowners rent their property for up to 14 days tax-free. So that really encourages homeowners to engage with the tournament and help the local community be prosperous in terms of economic impact during the event.
I think lastly here, these live sporting events, we know in television, these are the biggest draws when it comes to live events. But how do you foresee kind of the future of cities growing, especially here in the upstate where growth is rampant? How can you see live sporting events playing a factor in that growth?
Yeah, we have several examples here in the upstate, like the cities of Greenville and now Spartanburg, pushing for taking advantage of live sporting events in the upstate. They're not just to fill hotel rooms. They are more than that. They shape how people feel about a city and create long-term memories. In sporting events, it's always important to remember that customer service plays a crucial role, as it's a transaction and it's kind of determined on how people feel during and after they leave the event. The Masters tournament kind of masters that. People get an emotional connection with the tournament, although it's highly expensive, but they continue coming back to watch the tournament.
Always fascinating stuff and really interesting insight. Dr. Tobar, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Justin.